Yo, so before we start the video, just gonna let you know this isn't some clickbait video. If you're gonna claim that it is, then I'll just answer the title's question right now. Yes, Undertale is an amazing game. 9.5 out of 10 for me, would certainly recommend it, and plus it's only $10. Oh, okay. Okay, so if you're still interested in the video and why it's such a good game, let me at least preface this with what the game is and what's it about. Undertale is an RPG bullet hell hybrid released September 15th, 2015. I'll get into what I mean by RPG bullet hell hybrid in a second here, but just wait. The game originally made its debut on Kickstarter way back in June of 2013. The game had a $5,000 goal, but surpassed that by quite a lot. We're talking it reached $51,000. So fast forward 2 or so years, and now we have the game here. Okay, so now that we're gonna be talking about gameplay, I suppose now is as good a time as any to explain what I meant by RPG bullet hell hybrid. So Undertale is quite different as an RPG in many aspects. For one, you can go the whole game without killing a single thing. Literally nothing. Another aspect of the game that's quite different from most traditional RPGs is the way you interact with the battle system. After completing a command such as attacking, talking, using an item, anything like that, you typically have to play a bullet hell style mini-game. Cool thing is, depending on the enemy, it'll either change drastically, or maybe not at all. Either way, for me at least, this is the first time I've ever seen gameplay of this sort, and I quite like it. It gives a lot more depth and life to battle, which you rarely see in most RPGs anymore. So good on you, Toby Fox, for doing some cool shit right here, man. Good on you. Now to segue into the next part of this quote-unquote review, which is story/writing, I may as well talk about some parallels people have drawn between Undertale and various games from the Mother series, more specifically, Earthbound. For the most part, when I see some site writing an article about a game and comparing it to the likes of Earthbound, I tend to brush it off, simply because in most cases, they're nothing alike. However, in this case, I'd like to say I'm thoroughly surprised. The writing and the storytelling of this game, the sheer amount of details, and overall how quirky and lively just about every character is rivals that of Earthbound, and even Mother 3. Now before we continue discussing this, for me, I personally feel this game is more similar to Mother 3, simply due to things such as actually interacting with the battle system in a sense, and the upbeat, but also serious at times, writing. If there's something I can compliment the game on, aside from the soundtrack, we're gonna discuss that real soon, peeps. It's the story. For the most part, you're thrown into this story with no real knowledge of anything, but you seem to have one big goal from the start: get back to the surface. Along the way, you get rescued by Toriel, a loving and caring goat mom thing who takes you under her wing. Hoof. Hands? You get the point. Fast forward a little bit, and as you attempt to escape, she tries to stop you. Now here, you have the choice to either spare her, or simply kill her. You hear that kill screen? You aren't forced to kill her, you idiots. Give this game fucking 65, or you fucking... After proceeding from there, your journey to the surface begins. I'm not gonna try and spoil all too much here, but if there's any real heavy spoilers, I'll warn you about them in advance. Don't worry. As mentioned before, you can play the game however you want. You can spare and not fight anyone, and have a wonderful and jolly time. You can go neutral and live a somewhat possibly wonderful and jolly time, or you can go genocide mode and literally kill everything. Now, about that genocide part, I highly, strongly, amazingly, otherwordedly advise you do not go that route your first playthrough the game. It's a horrible idea and you'll be in for a bad time. Some people will get that joke. Okay, so overall, if you want some recommendations and tips about the game, know this. It's not an insanely easy game. It doesn't get easier at any points. However, don't let that stop you from having fun. The game constantly mentions determination. Have some of that when you're playing, and you'll have a blast. As well, I highly recommend taking your time with the game to take in all the stupid yet funny things most of the NPCs may say. And good God, take in the amazing cast of characters. There's so many hilarious, weird, and lovable moments and characters in this game. Potential spoilers ahead. Pause the video and skip to the time on screen if you would like to avoid any and all spoilers. For God's sake, one of the characters in the game is a weeb, like you know something fun's bound to happen there. You got Undyne asking if anime is real as she seems to be having a midlife crisis. You got your date with Papyrus. You got the Greater Dog popping out of the Snowpuff. You got poor old Napstablook cooking with Undyne. My fish wife. turn the heat up. More! Sorry about that. And let's not forget the most fabulous of them all.
Oh, yes.
Metaton. How can you resist this man-robot thing? Like, just look at those legs. Who needs arms with legs like these? Alright, you get the point, but as I was saying, there's a lot of hilarious and amazing characters and moments throughout the game. This part isn't gonna be taking as long as the other one, but anyways, Undertale's soundtrack is nothing short of amazing. Every song somehow manages to set the mood and atmosphere of every fight and area perfectly, and the variety in the music is also a huge +1. You got old SNES sounding soundtracks in the game, you got more modern sounding soundtracks in the game, you even have a song that sounds straight out of Mega Man X! No, this song doesn't actually play in the game, sadly. If you're planning on buying the game or are about to buy the game or whatever, I highly recommend getting the deal with the soundtrack, or if you haven't already, go get the soundtrack. It's about 100 or so tracks and all are wonderful. Now, I'm not gonna spoil any of these bosses at all. If you want to spoil it for yourself, go search it up or go watch videos I've done on them, but I'm just not going to personally spoil it for you in this video. But I will just quickly talk about the bosses themselves, I suppose. Pacifist final boss, absolutely epic and one of the best final bosses I've ever had the pleasure of going up against in a while. Neutral final boss, I hated it. Not because of the fight itself, but because of who it actually was. Genocide final boss. It took me 58 attempts to beat this boss. This boss, the Genocide final boss, is easily one of the hardest, most insane final bosses I've ever played in my life. Yet again, kiddos, don't do a Genocide playthrough. Like I mentioned earlier, this game reminded me a lot of the Mother series, and although at first I thought this would be a huge bias for me enjoying and liking the game, after a while I began to realize that wasn't even a reason I truly enjoyed the game. Undertale has to be one of the best games I've played in the past couple of years. Certainly up there with some of my favorites already. So as I said right at the start of this review, this game deserves an ever so strong 9.5 out of 10. I would certainly recommend you go play it for yourself. It's a wonderful experience, and it's only $10. How can you resist that? With that though, hope you've enjoyed this quote-unquote review of sorts, even though it wasn't a full-on review of the game. Hopefully I covered enough ground to help you decide whether or not the game is worth it. Anyways, that's about it for this video, people. Thanks for watching. See ya!